Hello, my name is David Pryor from Paranormal Explorers UK, and in this video I'm going to be taking a look at rods, a phenomenon that very little is known about to what they really are. I first came across these rods while ghost hunting in cemeteries, something I do 2 or 3 days a week and have done for the past few years. I feel I can shed some light on what these rods are through my own experiences and an experiment to find out the answer back in 2020, and well before I knew the public interest in the phenomenon. So I've been ghost hunting now for a number of years. So I usually go to cemeteries, just really because it's out of the way and it's peace and quiet. I'm not going to get disturbed. But if you like to go ghost hunting, there's nothing to stop you even just walking out your front door. They're everywhere. There's nothing. They're not tied to one place like people believe. And I came across these rods. I've seen them. I recorded them in footage and videos. I see them all the time. Now it's only recently that I've found out that there's not a lot of information out there. And I didn't realise how people are so interested with these rods, and not a lot of suggestions of what they are. My main belief is it's insects, and the wings flapping so fast it's like I'm leaving a motion blur in the camera. I looked into these rods after videoing them and filming them in cemeteries, because you see them in mass around there. I have seen them on other places like parks and other areas, but mainly you'll see them in cemeteries. You'll see them all the time in cemeteries, lots of them, which you'll see in the footage. Now you can't really see them with your eyes. You can have one could fly right past your face, but you're not going to see it. But on video and photographs, they do show up. But I am using an infrared camera and infrared light. I've converted these action cameras to infrared by taking the red filter out. But using an infrared light, that's what I've recorded them with. The setup I'm using is this one. I mean, this has been upgraded since and modified since doing this experiment, which you're going to see in a minute. It's just 2 infrared cameras. On the top one does still photography, the time lapse, takes a photograph every 3 seconds, and then the other one does the video. Now, if I film these rods, hair rods, skyfish, whatever you want to call them, I've filmed them and took photographs of them everywhere, lots of different cemeteries. Got some good shots of them, seen the distinctive way they fly, but I had to be certain that they're definitely not an insect, which I didn't believe they was to start with. So I had to find a way of doing an experiment. Bend down to put the REM pod on the floor. This rod comes up behind me and it stops, avoids me, and then flies off. So it was aware of my presence, it knew I was there. On several occasions I've videoed these rods and they just seem to disappear into the floor or reappear from the floor, and also do the same to gravestones. They just seem to fly into the stone and just disappear as if they've flown straight into it. I mean, this particular night, this was a summer night, and my cameras do work better when there's a little bit of light coming down. This was dusk, so it was just going dark, so there still was some light. I just seem to see a lot more. And according to Wikipedia, a team did do an experiment when they put a net up, tried to catch them. But at the end of the night, when they checked, it was just insects and moths. I just don't believe you can catch them like this. I just don't believe that at all. With being a ghost hunter and finding these through ghost hunting, I do believe the spirit, or some kind of spirit, like your orbs, like a form of orb. And that's what the experiment that I undertook was to try and prove. Whether they had human origin or they was an insect. Now if you ask any ghost hunter or anyone who's uses an infrared camera, video camera, and infrared lights, filming at night. They'll tell you that when an insect flies across the lens, it's instantly identifiable as an insect. They're very easy to see and very easy to identify. I'll show you some footage of insects flying past the camera, so you can tell that it's nothing like what the rods do. I've also got a still photograph of a moth caught in flight, and again, there's no blurring, no way of misidentifying it. And then the photograph you saw at the beginning of the video, this was caught on the time-lapse camera, which was taking a photograph every 3 seconds, and it's in detail, there's no motion blur. You can tell it's all one, it's not wings, motion blur from an insect. So taking this into account, and that they've got an awareness of the surroundings and managed to fly around me instead of into me, it was time for the experiment. I had to try and work out an experiment which would differentiate whether it be insects or spirit, or at least something with human origin. And it's not an easy thing to try and do this, but I came up with the experiment with the idea is what's unique to humans is clothes. And what would cause a stir or cause a reaction would probably be a human with no clothes. So that was the lines I went down. It wasn't raining when I first set off. As soon as I pulled up outside the cemetery, it just started to rain very slightly. I thought I'd still get away with it, so I carried on with what I was doing. So my intentions first was to have a walk around the cemetery, see what was flying about, see if there's anything I could see. Bearing in mind that the picture I'm looking at on the action camera is about 1.5 inches by 1 inch big. So again, you don't see very much, but I had to walk around, see what's flying about, and then once I've done that, I'll start my experiment. In the UK, in winter, we don't have flying insects. On the occasional days where we have a warm, out of the blue, sunny winter day, we do get what's called a winter gnat, which is very small gnats, and they seem to gather in a mass cloud. But apart from them, we don't have flying insects in winter, it's too cold. And it was cold this day. And that's not snow on the ground, like you can see, that's just the infrared camera. It's just grass, but it was a cold night, as you can see with my breath. As these action cameras are not really meant for night vision, moonlight or a full moon you get a better picture, but this night was a very dark night. There was no moonlight, there was nothing. With it being starting to rain, I'm taking it that it's going to be very cloudy as well, so it was a very dark night, and they don't really work as well when it's absolutely completely pitch black. It's asking a lot of them. Just before this experiment starts, or as you see on the video, as I was stripped waist down, I decided to take a few steps forward, do the walk, which I was intending to do, just to see if anything did fly up, and at least it ruled out that everything was flying up behind me as I'm walking around the cemetery. When I came to censoring this video, or the section of it that I needed censoring, I never censored that bit, so I've cut that bit out of the video, but I did actually walk in front about 10-11 paces first. So at this point I'm completely oblivious to what's just happened, what's just flown up. I had no idea whatsoever. It was only time I got dressed and got the clothes and everything, that's when they all started coming back. But we'll see it in real time. I'll show you in real time how it all played out. Now originally this was just for my own personal use. I wasn't going to publish this publicly, obviously, but because of the interest there is in sky rods and air rods and with the public, I thought I'd show what I found. So I definitely scared them off, definitely caused a reaction. So they all seemed to shoot off somewhere towards the left. I'm still getting just at this point. It wasn't until when I started to look at the camera, when I started to see them come back. and they seem to come back in greater numbers. And that's when I picked up the camera, because I can see them then, when there's so many of them and they're all flying in front of the camera. I can see them on the viewfinder, so I start moving around filming them, and so it all settles down and they all seem to disappear. So taking this into account, this little experiment, I would say that they have got human origin. They was once human, they hold human values, human ideas, and from my findings, personally, I believe them to be spirit. So I thought I'd also add the findings on orbs. This is an age-old argument whether orbs are dust, moisture in the air, reflecting light, backscatter, as they call it. Now, I've photographed orbs all over the place. You can photograph orbs outside your house, in your house, they're all over. You just need a little camera with a flash and go out and take a few photographs and you'll capture orbs. Now, I've photographed these orbs even behind trees, behind branches. from 25 metres away, which shows that the size that they look on the picture, that it's not dust, not when there's a branch covering them. So I've decided to do an experiment, and what I used in the experiment was an SLS camera, which uses an Xbox One sensor. So I live in a very active house. I can usually photograph orbs in my house most of the time. So I did a little experiment with an SLS camera, which the one I'm using today is an Xbox One sensor, and it adds 3 cameras. That's your 3D camera, or your 3D perspective, an infrared camera, and also a colour depth camera. Now the colour depth camera works off from a laser grid fired out, and the lasers bring back the information and the software maps the room. You can see in this picture, which was from the earlier 360 sensor, but you'll see the laser grid it's firing out, and that's bringing back the information to the colour depth. So colour depth camera cannot pick up dust or light anomalies. What you see is what's there. Now this is it. I left it recording in my room. You see my dog walking around at the bottom, and from the top left hand corner you see an orb come out from the wall and head diagonal across my room. Both the infrared and the colour depth camera are the same size, and as it's been picked up with the colour depth camera, that rules out it being dust or reflecting light or anything, or moisture in the air. So we found this useful. It's a bit of information. It's just things I've picked up and little experiments I've done along the way. As for the rods, I've got better recording equipment, better camera equipment made for use at night, and I will be doing the experiments again, and I'll post the footage as and when I do it. Thanks for watching. Bye.